Hey, what's going on, everyone? And I have just returned, and I mean like 30 seconds ago, I have just gotten back from my viewing of Overlord, the Sacred Kingdom. And I'm sure ticket sales in North America are absolutely abysmal because everyone in North America is waiting with bated breath for my review of the movie before they decide if they're gonna go see it. So guys, I want to get this straight right off the bat that this is not my light novel breakdown. Just based on what I saw in the movie, I can already tell I'm going to have to make multiple videos going over these two volumes and what was covered in the movie. So those will be coming later. I hope to get the first one out very quickly though. I'm gonna be jumping around a lot here. This is gonna be very informal. Try to keep an open mind because if you look at these are the two books that they had to adapt. These are the two whole books that were in this movie. I mean, look at that. Look at that. That is a lot of pages. That's a lot of paper there that they have to get through. So it's an ambitious ask to adapt two whole books in a movie, so I knew things were gonna be different. So let me just start the review by saying that the movie definitely hit the ground limping, in my opinion. Even in the light novel, the first little bit there is a little confusing to read because it jumps around a lot, but the first like 20 minutes of the movie, they are jumping around so much, and there's like no explanation as to what's happened, how much time has passed, where are they. I was thinking to an anime-only watcher, they are going to be wondering what the hell is up. They did not hit the transitions too well in the first beginning part of the movie. They do jump around a lot in this part of the story, so it is kind of hard to adapt that, but I thought that was very confusingly adapted. Also, this is a minor thing, but it just kept irking me. But I watched this in English because that was the earliest showing, was the English showing. And someone at Crunchyroll, I guess, hit their crack pipe again because they kept referring to Kalka as the holy princess, or the sacred princess is what they called her. Demiurge even calls her the sacred king. And I'm like, no, she is not the princess, she's the queen. She is the ruling monarch of the country. She is the queen. An anime only would be like, well, oh, is there someone else that's above her? Or well, who's her brother? Is he the king? Who's the king? It's a very minor thing, but it's something that was just like on my mind. Like every time it came up, I was like, why are they calling her princess? So yeah, that first little bit of the movie definitely was confusingly adapted. However, after about like the 30-minute mark, it really started hitting its stride. That's when a lot of the things started coming together. The real golden parts of this part of the story they really started getting those right. All the interactions between Nea and Ainz, which is the crux of the story, they really nailed a lot of those, and it was fun to watch them be brought to life like this. I was very excited for any time Ainz and Nea just started talking. My eyes were glued to the screen. I was so invested in that, and I think they did a very good job with capturing that dynamic. And I was curious how they were going to adapt this volume in terms of viewpoints, because the viewpoints in this part of the story bounce around a good bit. It is mostly from Nea's point of view, but there's a good chunk that is from Ainz's point of view as well. However, in the movie, 90% of it is from Nea's point of view, and I really think that was a smart decision. It definitely felt like it was a different vibe from the anime because of that. In most episodes of the anime, they at least have these little scenes here and there, even when it's not primarily focused on Ainz, they have these little scenes here and there with his inner dialogue and him talking and commenting on stuff. That stuff is barely in this movie at all. Just in general, the vibe of this story is just much more dark. It's a very serious event that's going on in these volumes, and because almost all of the movie is from Nea's point of view, or point of view people from the Robo Holy Kingdom, it just made everything seem much more grounded and real and serious than it would have been if they kept cutting away to Ainz's point of view. So I definitely think that was a smart decision on their part. There is something I did want to comment on, and this has to do with certain things that they chose to adapt. I'm trying to keep this as spoiler light as I can. Something I heard before I watched this movie was that they, the people who made the movie, they admitted that they chopped up a lot of the story because they wanted to focus more on action scenes in this movie. And I was a little dubious of that to begin with because action has never, ever been the crux of what makes Overlord Overlord. Overlord's greatest strength is its world building and its real characters and how they develop their characters and how they build a real world that these characters inhabit. That's the crux of what makes Overlord such a good anime, in my opinion. So I was a little weirded out by the fact that they were like, oh, we're gonna focus more on action for this movie, but this seemed reasonable. There is a lot of action in these volumes compared to like a lot of other volumes. I would say these are very action heavy volumes. I would agree on that point. There is basically one big fight scene in the whole movie. This is an over 2 hour long movie. There are other little battles here and there, but there's like one long big battle scene in the middle of the movie that's like maybe 15-ish minutes. I wasn't able to time it, obviously. It's maybe more like 20 minutes, but that's like the only really large battle. The one at the beginning of the movie, I mean, that was like freaking 3 minutes, and then every confrontation between Ainz and Yaldabaoth is like completely off screen, or just like they barely show it at all. Because I read that, I was expecting maybe some like anime exclusive things, like maybe they're gonna build on the fights between Ainz and Yaldabaoth, and they're going to build on some of these other fights that take place. Now I didn't hear it direct to source, so I don't know if they actually said this or not, but if they did say that, or whoever said that they were going to focus heavily on action in this movie, that's just false. That just is not true. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like, why did you lie? Because no, there's no reason to, because that's never been the strength of Overlord, in my opinion. Now, the battle scene that they did very heavily, adapt and very, very clearly is the main big battle scene of the movie. That was very, very well done. I did like that a lot. But overall, besides that one big scene there, all the other battle scenes were maximum maybe 5 minutes. But I guess in terms of Overlord, that is a lot of action, so I guess it wouldn't necessarily be a lie, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, I guess I could say. I was a little disappointed in some of the bigger moments, the bigger interactions, especially between like whenever Yaldabaoth happens and Ainz is happening. When those things are happening, I expected more to see more animated than what actually was. Another thing is that they sprinted through the Volume 12 stuff, and that makes sense. I would say over half of the movie is Volume 13, but if you compare them lengthwise, I mean, if you just look, here's Volume 13 and here's Volume 12. Look at the size difference. Volume 13 is a beefy boy, but it just felt like Volume 12 went by like that. Like, it just felt like all the events of Volume 12 just happened so fast, and as I said, it hit the ground limping because they structured some of the events very weirdly. Why did they cut away when Remedios had that thing with Calca? Why did they cut away and then show it later? Why did they do that? I didn't see a reason for that to happen. I have to say my favorite part of the whole movie was that chunk in the middle. And then also, I really loved that whole section of Nea and Shizu working together and going on that mission. One of my favorite things about Overlord is the juxtaposition of situations where Ainz is present versus when he's not present. Because anytime Ainz is on screen, you know as the viewer that this is going to get resolved because he's going to win. When Ainz is not there and they're going through very dangerous situations, it has this whole different feel to it, and I felt that the entire time. Even though I knew what was going to happen, I still felt that tension that was there during that whole section of the movie where it's just focused on Nea and Shizu. And of course, I loved seeing their interactions brought to light. Like I said, it's so rare for a Nazarick being to interact in a positive way with a New Worlder that it was really always a pleasure to read it in the story, and it was even more of a pleasure to see it animated. So I really liked that part of the movie. It was like this 40-minute stretch of the movie was just so fun. The last third of the movie was really, really good in my opinion. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't praise the movie on the audio and animation front. The animation overall is definitely a step up from the anime. It's very noticeable. They still kept that god-awful CGI design for the ogres from the anime, but even like the generic soldiers for the Sacred Kingdom army like just look way better than that army of H protagonists that we see in season 3 of Overlord. There definitely were moments where I was just sitting there just like, wow, this looks so good. Like the Overlord anime has been plagued with bad animation throughout. There's certain parts where it just looks terrible, especially with like some of the CGI stuff. I also have to say the music. I'm so glad I saw this in theaters because there are these moments where the music is just booming. The Nazarick theme just comes in, it's blasting in my ears. Ain's looking all triumphant and everything. The sound design was very, very good. I was glad I watched it in theaters for that reason, and I definitely think it's worth it to see it in theaters just for that. I also think I heard a remix of the Nazarick theme towards the end of the movie. I might have been mistaken on that, but if it is, it was dope. And also at the end, Wheeler Dealer, OXT, they just dropped another banger, but then again, that's to be expected. Those guys just don't miss. They stay hidden. It took a little bit for it to hit its stride. That first 20-30 minutes were a little awkward and weird. Like when they cut away from Remedios and Calca's confrontation with the Yaldabaoth and then jump to that scene with Nea, I thought they cut out that what happened with them, and I damn near walked out of the movie after that because I was like, this is one of the most impactful, like most gruesome moments in all of Overlord, and it's an R-rated movie. Why are we not showing this? Like, what happened? Like, I literally was like, there's no way they actually cut that, right? They didn't cut it, but they chopped it up weirdly for, I don't know why they did that. They just didn't seem to reason to do that. So yeah, those first 20-30 minutes definitely are a little awkward. I feel like once it hits its stride, it was enjoyable all the way to the end. But then again, if you're not a fan of Overlord, I don't see a reason why you would watch this movie because it's like, we're like 3.5 seasons in worth of plot at this point. Why would you watch it if you weren't an Overlord fan? And I thought that was funny because at the beginning of the movie, there's a little like scrolling credits thing where they try to give you a very brief plot synopsis of Overlord, and I'm just like, who is watching this movie that hasn't seen the actual anime yet? Like, I don't know why you would see it if you haven't watched the anime. So guys, I give it a thumbs up. I definitely think you should see it. It's worth it to see it in theaters just for the sounds of those moments when the music comes booming in and the effects, the battle sounds in that big battle scene. Everything is worth it just for the audio and visual experience. I would recommend seeing it in movies. If not a completely faithful adaptation of this part of the story, it was still a very enjoyable one, so I definitely think it's worth your time to watch it if you are a fan of Overlord. So guys, that about sums up my review of the movie. I will get the light novel comparison videos. I will start churning those out as fast as I can. We are going to have a lot to get through. I'll probably do like 2 videos for 12 and I maybe 2 or maybe 3 for 13. There's just so much here. There's a lot. This is the beefy boy. Hopefully we'll be able to start getting those out and people will like those. I'm sure it'll be fun. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video to let me know you want to see more like it, and if you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it'll let you know when I post in the future. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you all for watching to the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.